what you guys are doing.
Well, I want to just convey to investors. I think in the average investor, most everybody, don't compete against pros like ourselves or other people. Don't making tactical asset allocation bets or moving around in the markets because you're probably going to lose. It's difficult for us.
We put hundreds just buy beta for 15 basis points?
No, you have to have a balanced portfolio. In other words, think about how you're going to have a balanced portfolio. What you know is that asset classes as a whole, over a period of time, are going to outperform cash. Okay, that's the most thing that you could be most comfortable with. If they don't, you have a depression. The only times that hasn't happened. But to know how to achieve a balanced portfolio, and that's a whole other subject I don't know that you want to go through. If you're talking about tactical bets, in other words, I can come on the show and I can say, I think this is good. But then what happens is if I come a month later and I then change my mind because something has happened, then I'm going to mislead people. So the tactical bets I don't think are going to be helpful. I would say that we're in an environment in which it's very important to have a well-diversified, and that'll include assets like, to some extent, maybe a little bit of gold in your portfolio. In other words, what could I tell investors? Try to achieve balance in various ways. That's a whole subject about how to do it. And also, I think that, gold, at 5% of your portfolio, 5 or 10% of your portfolio, under the circumstances, would be also a prudent thing to do. Prudence is the important thing to do. The reason I'm also referring to that is we have a situation where a debt is money. In other words, we have a fiat monetary system too. And so we're having problems as these central banks operate. And so think of it as another form of cash. And when cash now has 0 or 0% interest rates or less, think of it as one of those possibilities in terms of how do you create diversification?
I respect the fact that the tax...
What's going on, family? I think one thing that you could take from Ray Dalio's video, and if you don't know who Ray Dalio is, please find out who he is. He's one of the biggest investors that has one of the biggest funds in America. But the point I'm making is he made a valid point, and I want to point something out to you because we're getting a lot of people who got all this stock market advice. You got all these people who all of a sudden are experts in the market. And the biggest thing that we have to understand is that these market makers, what he was trying to allude to say before he was cut off by the host, is that he said you can't compete with us because we literally move the market with hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what he was trying to get to, but the guy cut him off when he said because we have 100, and he cut him off. So one thing I want you to understand is that when it comes to that marketplace, when it comes to investing your money, the number one place that you need to be using that money while you got the time is in education. Why? Because when the market begins to turn around, jobs be able to be opening back up, or whatever happens to the marketplace, you could have used this time, this downtime, to educate yourself on what the market does. Exactly. I mean, you got literally 24 hours a day for the next 7 to 14 days for a fact, where you literally can research and learn and educate. Go to master classes, purchase these things versus putting your money in stocks. You have no idea what you are doing. Don't play with the big boys if you don't know the game. The second thing he brought out, he said money is debt. Money is fiat. Fiat is debt, which is a liability. You want to turn your cash into assets. That's why I tell people all the time, your cash in savings accounts don't add any value to you because it's still in its debt form. It's still in fiat form. It's still in liability form. And so you got to find a way to turn them dead presidents into assets that work for you, which is why I tell people to take your money out those savings accounts and put them in insurance reserves, because the moment that you do that, you immediately took that dead money and you turned it into an asset that will forever make you cash flow for the rest of your life. So it's very important that you understand places that you can place your dead money, your dead assets, your dead dollar, the liability, the fiat, and put it in places that can protect and grow your money. So listen, here's the deal. That doesn't always mean stop. Find reserves, find places that give you guarantees until you understand how to manipulate the market or how to get into any industry and market and be able to grow and capitalize on assets that are devalued. Until you learn that, put your money in reserves that give you guarantees, that gives you protection until you can play with the big boys.